Hi guys and welcome to Horologique, and today we'll be taking a look at the San Martin Captain Willard or the San Martin SN047G. And this one is of course inspired by the Seiko Captain Willard from the 70s, the reference 6105, so famous for the movie Apocalypse Now. And just to let you know, Seiko made a reissue of this watch in 2019, which was the SLA 0033 and was a very expensive timepiece at around 4,300 euros and was limited, of course. But the next year, Seiko reissued the SPB 153, which was not a limited edition, but was around 1,000 euros. Even a little bit more, 1,100 I think, and well, that is still pretty expensive. So does the little San Martin here have a place in your heart and in your collection for around 160 euros? Let's find out. And let's start with the dimensions. This one is 44.2 millimeters in diameter if you measure from 9 to 3. It's 13.9 millimeters in height, and that is in part due to the domed sapphire crystal, and is a 47.2 millimeters in lug to lug, which makes it pretty wearable. In fact, I will show you a wrist shot in here, and you will see that even on my 6.5 inch or 16.5 centimeter wrist, it wears pretty well. Where they have differed from the original Seiko 6105 isn't the lug width, because they have put a 20 millimeter lug width in here instead of the 19 millimeter lug width, which make it look a bit weird in the issue from the 70s. This watch comes courtesy of a very good friend of the channel, Dennis. So Dennis, thank you again very much for lending in yet another one of your timepieces. And Dennis has put it on this unnamed bracelet, which is pretty good and which has a double security, there you go, and which has a milled clasp, solid end links, solid links, but sadly just push pins. On the version that you can buy now at the San Martin official store, you have three versions. You have a blue one, you have a black one, and you have a green one. And they all come on these Horween leather. I don't have, sadly, the original Horween leather strap in which it comes, but I think that this one looks much better on a metal bracelet like this, or on a waffle strap as such. You'll see this little baby will be reviewed on the channel very soon as well. If you look at the dial, it does not feature a sunburst per se, but you can see that it is a shiny surface, not a sunburst like, let's say, the Steeldive. Look at that sunburst. It does not have the lines coming from the center and outgoing to the edges of the dial. So that is a decision they have taken, not a bad one. I kind of like these ones. And talking about decisions, the good decision that they did here was to brand this watch with applied text, which is wonderful, I believe, and this is the way they should do it for all. Perfect, San Martin. Keep it up like this. At 3, the date is framed by a very nice frame in there, very well made. And at 6, you've got, of course, the automatic water 200 meter resist, just to honor the previous old generation Seikos. And the 200 meters is in red, which is a very nice touch. All the indices are reminiscent of the 6105 Seiko, which is not a bad thing at all, and they are framed as well. Framing the dial, you've got a very nice chapter ring, just like on the Seiko versions. The alignment is good between the 12 pip of the bezel insert, the 12 of the chapter ring, and the 12 index. Let's talk about that bezel insert. And that bezel insert is sapphire, as you would have thought, and it is not lumed, but for the 12 pip. And you can see the difference between the not lumed, all very stark white indices and numerals, and the 12 which is lumed. The lume in the indices is pretty green, and that has been criticized in other San Martins in the past, but I don't very well see the problem with that. So there's a bevel at each side of those hands, both the hour and the minute hand, which makes these hands from a utilitarian watch appear much more dressy. And of course there's that very characteristic red light second hand, which is very well made here. And protecting that beautiful dial, you've got a domed sapphire crystal, just like in the very expensive SLA 033. And that is a very nice touch on San Martin's part, I believe, and it does have anti-reflective coating on the inner part. And the anti-reflecting works, well, it's okay. And now the bezel. The bezel is quite high, as you can see. It is much higher than it would be on the Steeldive. As you can see, it is not only the crystal, but the bezel is much higher. And now let's see how that bezel rotates. Alright, it is pretty stiff to the rotation, but there's absolutely no backplay. This thing is solid, but it is quite hard to turn. I would not say it's impossible to turn or that will take a lot of force, but you have to apply some force to this bezel. Let's say a first generation Omega Seamaster 300, if you know what that feels like. But for me it's fine. I would have preferred it to be a bit looser, keeping it as precise, just as they have done, as San Martin have done with their Submariner homage. That is just perfect. And now another very important part of this watch is that case. They have kept the 44mm of the original 6105. The brushing is pretty well made. I think here it is a little bit less fine than San Martin have accustomed us to. You will see that it's the one on the Steeldive looks a little bit finer, which is a bit strange, but yeah, still. They're not too far off, but this case has a secret, and that secret is that amazing etched shark at the back of the case. I believe that this is the way San Martin should do it in all their watches. Really amazingly well detailed and well made. That aggressive shark is just so good. Take note, San Martin and its competitors. This is the way it should be done. And talking about that shark, you will also find it on the crown. Very well engraved as well. And when you look at the crown is much more reminiscent of the 6105 and of the SLA 033 reissue than of the budget level that they have done here. With the knurlings, it is of course screw down, ensuring that 200 meters of water resistant, and the screwing down is pretty well done, no rough edges there. And when you hand wind the watch, the sensation is, well, just as any NH35, because you guessed it, this watch has the NH35. Hacking, hand winding, around 41 hours power reserve. Good, reliable. There is no surprise why so many micro brands and Chinese brands use this movement. It does hand wind, as you can see, and it does hack. The second hand has stopped there. Okay, so good and bad things about this watch. Well, the best thing that I can see for now is the fact that it has the branding which is applied and this wonderful etched shark in the back, and it does not have a sterile back. And I do really believe that San Martin should do this in other sports watches. This is a wonderful combination that works very well for them and helps them differentiate themselves from their other competitors. Other good things, the Lume. The Lume is amazing, as you would have expected from San Martin at this point. Alright, the fact that you've got the domed sapphire crystal, that is reserved for the very, very expensive SLA 033. The finishing, the quality control, everything else is very, very good at this price point. Then again, the price point, 174 euros. Is it worth it compared to the 100 euros of the Steeldive? I believe it is. I believe it is, although the Steeldive is also a very, very good watch. But if you want to put 75 more euros and get the San Martin, you will see the difference in the finishing, in the dome sapphire crystal, in the extra little things here like the etched back, in the more elaborated crown, and these details, these kind of details, which make it worth it. Although if you just want to spend 100, the Steeldive is a wonderful, wonderful option still. The main difference will be also the Lume. The Lume is much better on the San Martin, of course. The thing that I have liked less is the fact that it comes on a Horologique leather strap and not on a bracelet like the Steeldive and others, or on even a rubber strap, which would have been good enough. So that is so-so. What else have I not liked? The brushing could be better. It's the first time I say that on the San Martin, but I believe that it could be better. It is better on the Steeldive. The bezel action is a little bit too stiff, in my opinion. Maybe it's just this unit, but it's a little bit too stiff. But besides from that, I think it's another winner from San Martin. At 175 euros, you're getting a watch with a domed sapphire crystal. Mind you, that is not a cheap thing to do. Not at all, actually, compared to a flat sapphire crystal. You've got a sapphire bezel insert. You've got, of course, you've got a ton of very, very, very good things. Wonderful Lume, which you don't get on 6105s below this price point. Many, many things that make this watch a very good option. So if you do want to get it, there's a link in the description below, and I would seriously recommend it. So thank you very much, guys, and I'll be seeing you very soon. Goodbye.